Hello everyone, I wanted to take some time to review the results for August's 3-card blind tournament with you today. I wanted to start by mentioning that at the end of the previous month, both Force of Will and Leyline of Anticipation were banned. Those two cards were possibly the two most defensive cards that 3-card blind has to offer. This resulted in both myself and many players being concerned that highly explosive turn 1 win decks would dominate the format. These concerns were not entirely unjustified either. In months prior, the player going first had an average score of 57%, compared to during August, the average score of the player going first was closer to 60%. Having addressed that, however, I do think that it's fair to say that the meta overall was much healthier and more diverse in August than it was in July by a significant margin. To make a comparison here, in July, the most popular deck had 9 players playing it out of the total 75 players, which is a total of a roughly 9% meta share. If we compare that to August, there were 91 total players, and there were no more than 2 players on the same deck list. Similarly, if we look at things by card, in August, the most popular card by far was Black Lotus, which had a 29.75% meta share and an average score of 51%. After Black Lotus, card popularity quickly falls off, and that is largely because even at the level of individual cards, players played highly differentiated decks from each other. So all of that being said, there isn't nearly as strong of a conclusion that I can come to about August's meta compared to prior months because of the level of diversity among decks. Of course, I would be lying to you if I tried to say that all of these decks performed equally well, though. Let's start by giving an honorable mention to all of the Dark Depths decks that got played this month. In Group A, which is our high elo pod, Snail on Speed and Virus both managed to grab second place with the same Dark Depths list. Special K also managed to grab second place in Pod B with a different Dark Depths list. And similarly, in Pod D, Omarin was able to claim third place with a Dark Depths list. None of this comes as too strong of a surprise given that the main predators of this deck, Strip Mine and Wasteland, are currently banned. That being said, I think it's worth mentioning that Caracas proved to be a very useful tech against Dark Depths and a few other decks this month. Now I'd like to quickly mention one of our 2 winners for Pod D, and that's Telf. Telf was playing the Emrakul the Aeon's Torn Lion's Eye Diamond Shelldock Isle deck, which can turbo out Emrakul as early as turn 2. I've already made a short covering how this combo works, so if you're curious, I do recommend that you check that out after you've finished this video. The last honorable mention I'd like to give here is to Nerium, who won in Group C with Balance, Black Lotus, and the Rack. The combination of these 3 cards allows Nerium to force the opponent to discard their entire hand on the first turn of the game, while simultaneously deploying the Rack as the win condition. Even when Nerium doesn't get to take the first turn, Balance and the Rack are 2 cards that are incredibly defensive and make it extremely difficult for an opponent to deploy their own strategy without risking getting outraced by the Rack or getting blown out by Balance. Okay, now that we've discussed all of the honorable mentions, I can reveal why I showed the winner of Group C before the other groups, which is the other groups have a commonality in their winner. There is an elephant in the room, so to speak, and that elephant in the room is the card Blackmail. Draper came in first for Group D with Blackmail Swamp the Rack. In Group B, Wanafu came in first place with Bayou Blackmail Hexdrinker, and in Group A, CK came in place with Blackmail Death Shadow Tarnished Citadel. So although I stand by what I said before, the format is far more diverse, and there isn't really that many overlaps between decks, it's unquestionable that Blackmail has overperformed across the board. Many of our veteran players had anticipated that Blackmail was going to be a really strong card this month, but the reality is, with Force of Will and Leyline of Anticipation on the ban list right now, there aren't that many great options for defending yourself against Blackmail. And of those options, they didn't tend to perform very well against decks other than the Blackmail decks. For example, if we look at Mental Misstep, it only came in at a 40% win rate this month. Of course, now seems like a great time to mention that every month the community votes on a selection of cards to determine which cards will get banned or not for the following month. So never fear, if you are worried that Blackmail will continue to dominate the meta, you'll have the opportunity to express your opinion very soon. As we begin to wrap things up, I should mention that although Mirror Metal did not come in first this month, Mirror Metal remains our reigning 3-card blind champion with a 1699 ELO rating. That being said, CK, who came in first in Group A this month, is close on Mirror Metal's tail at a 1677 ELO rating. Congratulations again to this month's winners, CK, Wanafu, Miriam, Telf, and Draper. And everyone stay tuned in the near future for announcements on the ban update process. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.